Hello friends, in this part 2 video I'll be texturing the mouse. I have modeled the mouse in a separate video. If you want to check that out, I have put the link in the description. By the end of this tutorial you are going to learn basic UV unwrapping, texturing in Photoshop and rendering using Unwrapping.
Subscribe nalinkantajena tutorials channel and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So here is the mouse model. I did this model in another video. If you want to check out that video, please follow the link in the description. So in this video we are going to texture and render this mouse. So let's quickly start texturing this. So first I'm going to select these things and press 1. Then we are going to unwrap the UVs and then we are going to texture. So here you can see I just need to put some logo here on this object, on this area. Obviously I'm not going to put this Logitech logo. I'm going to put my channel logo here. You can put any logo here. So it would be a very basic texturing. So if you are a beginner, this class is perfect. If you are an advanced level, then you can skip this video. You don't have to watch. It's a very big beginner level. So first I'm going to unwrap the UVs of this piece so that I can put the texture here properly without stretching the texture. So first I'm going to change this workspace to UV editing. So let's change that so that I get the UV editor here, and you can see the UV toolkit here. So let's adjust it, and first let's unwrap this piece. So for this piece, let's select this and go to UV menu here and go to planner option. So these are some different projection mapping. So I'm going to use this planner. So go to the option box, reset it, and I'm going to use the y-axis projection so that it projects from y-axis from top to towards the bottom. I'm going to turn on this keep image width ratio. Let's first see without it. So let's apply. Here you can see the projected UV of this selected object, and I can move this here. Okay, so here you can see the UV is not proportionate as the model. Here you can see the model is more longer. It's kind of rectangular overall shape, but here you can see it's kind of squarey. So let me undo. It's because of this option, keep image width height ratio. Make sure it's turned on when you apply the y-axis or any axis map. So it's applied. Now you can see the image width height ratio is perfect here. It's not stretching to fill this UV area. Okay, once it turned, then let's unfold these things. Now you can see two UV cells stacking on top of each other, one for this part and one for this part, this bottom part. So let's go to UV cell mode and click to select one UV cell, and then let's move by using the move tool. Here you can see this is the top UV, this is the bottom part of this mouse here, and you can clearly see it's not unfolded. So if I turn on this checker box here, so let's turn on this so that I can see the checker, and you can see the stretched checker here. It's looking pretty cool, but still I'm going to unfold it. So let's turn off this little option here to turn off the image here in this UV editor, but still you can see that checker here because of this option. Okay, first let's select it. Let me close this window. Let's select it and go to modify and unfold it. So by unfolding it, you can see it's going to get rid of this kind of stretchy polygons here. So let's try it. So go to modify, unfold it, and you can see it tried its best to unfold it, and I think I need to rotate it. So let's make it straight. Okay, so here you can see still I can see some kind of stretching in this checker. That means the UV is not 100% unfolded. There are still some kind of stretched or squeezes going on. So I'm going to select the UV cell, and let's hold shift right mouse and if you go to this unfold here, you can see some more options: unfold along U, unfold along V. So let's unfold along U. So it's going to only unfold in this U direction. You can see now I'm going to unfold along V. So now it's kind of manually unfolding in U and V direction, and now you can see I got a little bit better result by doing this. Sometimes it's a better way to unfold by just unfolding in U separately and then V. So I think it's working for me now, and let's try to unfold this one. Let's select it and hold shift right, and let's go to this unfold first. And here you can see this is a bad way to unfold this kind of piece, because you can see this. If I go to this 5 mode, let's turn off this. It's kind of has a height and then the flat area. If I try to unfold this kind of shape, you can see some weird kind of checkers, still stretchy. So I need to cut somewhere, so that I think this edge would be better to cut. So let me select this edge loop and let's cut it. So go to cut, and let's go to UV cell. So basically now I'm going to unfold this, and then this. So this would be basically 2 UV cell. So now I'm going to unfold it. Let's unfold. Let's try the same thing. I think unfold in U, unfold in V. I think this is working. Let's turn on this checker. Let's straight it. Okay, good. And let's try to unfold this. Unfold U, unfold. Sorry, let's go to unfold V. So I'm not giving too much attention to this area because I'm not going to put any textures here. As I tell earlier, it's a very basic texturing, so I'm not going to put any textures here. So these areas would be flat black color or kind of dark blue color. I'm just going to put a texture to the bottom, and I'm going to put a logo here. So that's the texturing for this mouse. It's designed for a very beginner student. And I'm going to not unwrap these parts. I'm just going to give material color because these are flat colors. So whenever you have a flat color, single color, you don't have to unwrap and texture it in Photoshop. But for this kind of logo and putting some details, text, I'm going to texture it in Photoshop, this piece. So once this UV unwrapping is done here, so next I'm going to make the layout. So let's select all the UV cell, and then let's go to modify again and lay out these things. So let me find the layout option here. Let's go to the option box, reset. So this is a good habit to reset settings so that you start with the by default settings. Okay, let's apply it, and as soon as I click that apply button, now you can see all the UV cells are inside this 0 to 1 UV space. Okay, that's great. And now I'm going to give this UV cell a little bit bigger space because I have no unused space here, empty space. So that means I can scale this up so that my texture would be, my texture would have a lot of resolution here. Instead of having this much this big, I'm going to scale it because I have empty space in this UV area. So let me scale it. And whenever you unwrap these UVs, try to use the maximum UV space of this box. Okay, now I'm going to take the snapshot of this UV, and then we are going to switch to Photoshop, and then we are going to texture this. So let me click on this little snapshot button. Okay, make sure you do this when you are in the object mode. Sometimes students do the mistake of being in this vertex mode, and then they try to take the snapshot, and sometimes it doesn't allow you to take the snapshot. So make sure you are in the object mode, then click here and browse wherever you want that UV snapshot. So this time I'm going to let's say I'm going to do this in the desktop. Let's say mouse UV, save it, and I'm going to use the PNG format. So that means these areas would be transparent. I would have only these UV lines, so that would be easy to put some background. So, and the text size would be 2K here. So let's click on this apply button. Whenever you click on that apply button, look at this area, see if you have any red colors here. If you have any red colors, then that means something is wrong there, so you need to check that. So if it says like this, saved file, then that means your snapshot is done. So now I'm going to switch to Photoshop, and then we're going to texture it there. So here you can see the mouse, UV PNG. Let me adjust my desktop, it's a mess right now, sorry for that. So this is the mouse UV PNG, and I'm going to open the Photoshop. So let's open the Photoshop first. Here I'm using the Photoshop CC 2017. You can use any version for this, so this would be a very basic Photoshop task. Okay, so I'm going to open this image there. So let's go to Photoshop, file, open, and I'm going to browse that in my on my desktop here. So let me find that mouse UV, open that. Okay, here you can see it's very hard to see the UV lines because it's a big file, 2K file. But if I go closer by holding the Alt and middle mouse scroll, you can see the UVs. So basically I'm going to create a new layer. So let's create a new layer. Here is my, so the layer 0 is the UV, so let's rename it. Just double click there and put the name so that I can easily identify. So this would be the background. So let me fill a color. So here you can click and you'll get this color picker. You can choose a color. So this time I have a kind of bluish, dark bluish color. Say okay, and we need to bring the paint bucket tool here. So you can hold the left mouse on this icon, and then you'll find this drop down menu, and from that you can use paint bucket tool and just click on this area to fill the background in this layer. So again you can rename it to BG, something like that. In production, this kind of organizing thing is very important, so make sure you have that practice from the starting. So that's very easy. So now I'm going to bring some images to put as my logo. So I'm going to use my channel logo, which is nalinkantajena tutorials. So let's find that. So I have that in my PC. So let's go to my channel. Let's go to my material for editing, logo image. So here's my image. So let's drag that. You can just left mouse drag to this Photoshop view. So now you can see I have the logo of my channel. So let's drag that. You can use this move tool to drag it. So drag to this window. Now we have this, so we can close this now. Let's say no, we don't want to save that. Okay, so here's my logo. Now I'm going to scale down it to put it as a small piece here. So let's select it, and you can press Ctrl T to get this transform scaling option. Then you can hold the shift button and go to a corner, hold the left mouse and scale it. Okay, here I'm going to put, and I'm going to flip it to 180 degrees. So right click here inside this box and let's choose 180 degree rotation like that. So I think I can scale down it, and then you can just click on this option and it will ask you to apply it. So let's apply. So like this you can bring any image and put this here, and this UV snapshot is guiding us to know where we need to put those details. Okay, so this is my logo here. You can bring any logo, you can use any logo. If you want to use my logo, I'll put this in the description. I'll put the links to download these images. And for this bottom part of the mouse, I'm going to use a texture, so I'm not going to do all this texting manually. Again, you can use text tool to write something, or you can use any photos. So let me use an image. Okay, so let's open it. Okay, here's another picture. Here I'm going to cut this image and put this here. So this is my mouse bottom area. I need to put this texture there. So let's use the pen tool. So I'm going to click and drag to get this kind of tangent handle to adjust the curvature in between curvature. And then I'm going to click on this first little small box here to complete the loop here. And then we're going to press Ctrl and Enter to selection to get the selection. Here you can see. Then let's check the move tool and bring just drag it to here. So here you can see I have that bottom part, and let's again Ctrl T to get that transform. And here I'm going to right click and then rotate clockwise 90 degree. You can do that, and then we can scale it like this. So when you scale, hold shift to get the proportionate scale. If you don't do this, you might stretch or squeeze this image. So hold shift and drag a corner to proportionally scale. And here I'm not that detailed about this bottom part. So again, you can mask these things. So here I'm scrolling, holding Alt and scroll to zoom. Again, you can use this zoom tool here. Okay, so here you can see this bottom part, the bottom part of the mouse is not 100% matching with our model. Again, we can use the wrapping option here, or you can scale it a little bit to fit the UV. So let's Ctrl T, and this time I'm going to scale it a little bit so that it matches the overall UV area. You can do this, or again, if you want more precise adjustment, you can again press Ctrl T, and this time right click in this area, in this box, right click and go to the wrap mode. And here you can wrap or move in points. It's kind of a lattice in Maya, so it allows you to adjust the image precisely by using these points or using this box. Okay, let's press enter. So now my texture is ready. It's a very basic texture. You can go ahead and do some other stuff. You can put some text, or you can put some textures as opposed to this flat color. But for me, I think this is a quick texturing. And then here, before I save this as my texture, I need to turn off the UV layer. If I take this as like this, I'm going to get these UV lines on my model, so I don't want that. So let's turn off the UV line or UV layer, and this is my texture. So now I'm going to save it. Go to file and save, and here I'm going to save in JPEG mode. Again, you can, in production we tend to use bigger higher quality files, which is T for Targa, but for this demonstration purpose, I'm going to use JPEG. JPEG is a lower file size image here, so I'm going to use the JPEG. And again, you can give any name. Again, in production it's very important to follow their naming structure. So in this case, I'm going to use mouse, let's say diffuse. So they always use this word for color maps or color information maps. So mouse diffuse color or something. So this is my texture. So let's save it. I'm saving in desktop. Save it. But it's a very bad habit to save on desktop. Sometimes you might delete those things by mistakenly, and you are going to lose the work. So make sure you save those on a specific folder inside the drive. Okay, now I'm going to Maya. So here we are going to bring that texture. So the first step I'm going to follow is assigning a material. So I'm going to turn off this text, this checker mode first. and then let's press 3 to get the smooth preview. Let's press 3 for all the things. Okay, now first I'm going to assign a material, so hold the right mouse button on this piece and then go to assign favorite material. You will find my materials here, so I'm going to use a bleen because this mouse has kind of shiny look, so I'm going to use this bleen material. And now you can see this kind of sign is going on there. And once you assign this material, you can go to this attribute editor by clicking here. Go to this just click on this right side button, or you can right click here and go to the last bleen one, or you can directly select and go to the material attribute by right clicking and go to material attribute. Now you can see the bleen material. You can rename it here. Let's say body, and here I'm going to put the texture. Here you can put any color. Here I'm going to use a texture, so let's click on this little checker icon and go to file. So open this by clicking on this yellow folder box and browse wherever you have that texture and just select and open it. So my texture is here on this material, but I cannot see the texture here because I am in still shaded mode, so it doesn't show you the texture. So you have to go to setting and turn on the hardware texturing, or you can just simply press 6 to turn on the texture. Okay, now you can see quickly I have that beautiful nalinkantajena tutorials logo, and I have that flat color of my mouse, and here you can see the beautiful easy texturing part, which we obviously copied, but in production most of the time you tend to do these things manually so that you can adjust it easily. Okay, so this is a very quick way to texture and then assign that texture to a material color. So here for these pieces I'm going to assign a single material color, so let's select both of those and right click, go to favorite material, and this time again I'm going to use a bleen or maybe fong because I think that's a little bit more shiny part than this. Okay, the fong is a little bit strong shiny material than the bleen. So here I'm going to use a flat color, so let's select it, and I'm going to pick this picker, and we can pick any color here like this from this window, and then I'm going to darken this because it's more darker, because you can see this part is darker than this body. So we can go click and go to this value here and drag it to the left. So right here. Okay, I would recommend to not to use the pure black color. Okay, so then we are going to give it a material, so it's a kind of soft bleen kind of material. So let's go to bleen, and for this I'm going to again, you can pick the color, so let's click on this picker and go and click on this. And for this material shininess I'm going to this specular roll off and decrease this to soften the specularity on this wheel. Okay, like this. Okay, then we can use that for the wear, or we can use a different fong material maybe. So let's go to favorite material, fong, and this time let's make it kind of close to black. Okay, something like this. Very easy. Let me change this to Maya Classic. Very easy beginners level texturing, very basic unwrapping and then the texturing. Okay, and so then we are going to see the rendering. So I'm going to hide these images, so let's press Ctrl H. Okay, so first we are going to create a backdrop so that when we render we don't get this black empty space. So for that I'm going to create a curve to create the backdrop. I'm going to use a curve, so let's go to curve tool, CV curve tool, and go to this front view. I'm going to start from here, so this would be the back wall kind of thing. The camera would look from this direction towards the mouse, so we're going to do the ground then the wall. So I'm going to start from here, So the mouse is sitting on exactly this grid line, so I'm going to start from here. So hold X key and click on here to start from this point, then hold Shift and keep putting these points. So by holding the Shift key, you are like creating a straight line. So I'm going to create a straight ground, and then from here I'm going to create the wall. So let's go up like this. So it's the wall. Press enter to create the curve. So this is one curve. Okay, this is one curve, and then I'm going to duplicate it by going to edit menu, duplicate it, and then move it to this direction. So I have two curves. Then I'm going to create the surface in between these two curves by using a tool or option called loft. So let's select these two curve, go to surface menu and use the loft option like this. Okay, it turns black because of the normal direction. That's fine, but if you want to switch, you can select it, go to surface and reverse the direction. Okay, like that. Okay, here is a mouse, here is our backdrop. Then we are going to create lights. So we are going to create 3-point lighting. So I'm going to create a main light source, and then a fill light, and then a backlight. So that's a very easy way to lighting your products. So we are going to use Arnold for rendering. So I'm going to use Arnold lights. So go to the Arnold tab first here to find out Arnold lights. So here I'm going to use Arnold area light. So let's click on that. Here we have the light. It's inside the mouse, a small little lights. We need to scale it. So let's scale it from the center, make it big, and I'm going to put the light from this direction towards the mouse. And here you can see that this area light has the direction towards this side. I can say that because of this line, this perpendicular line comes from the center towards this angle. So let's rotate it so that that line is facing towards the mouse. So that's the facing direction of this area light. You can rotate it and position it like this by just rotating. So this is my main area light, main key light you can say. And let's zoom in and render. So I'm going to click on this second option here to render the view, and the Arnold renderer is by default renderer here. So now it's rendering, and you can see it's totally black. And the main reason because it's black is could be the light intensity. So when you take a lights and render and you get a black render file here, image, that means the light is less intense. That could be the reason. So let's select it and go to this attribute editor, lights intensity, and now the intensity is 1. So let's increase it to, let's say, 10, and you can see the little preview here. And let's again render. Now you can say it's still black. So it's not kind of any error, it's just the intensity. So you need to give a massive amount of intensity because you have a small light here, a single light source. So let's render it. Now you can see, we can start to see the mouse here, but still the light is very low intense. So let's increase it. So let me increase it to somewhere 500 or 1000. So let's render it. Okay, so here is here I'm using the Maya render view. The demerit of this render view is you need to re-render every time you change the settings, but we have a better option, that's Arnold render view. If you go to Arnold menu, Arnold render view, this render view is interactive. You can play here. This render view is great because it automatically updates the render when you change the settings. So let's say I need to change the intensity. So now you can see when I press enter, it immediately render automatically. That means I don't have to go to this button and click on it again and again to render it. So this is the better way. And another better thing about this render view is you can basically select materials. You can select like this, and you can change the material here. So that's very handy. You can see now I am in Fong. I can click here. Now I am on the different object material. So now I have a single light. So this is the main key light. So let's duplicate this light and let's put some lighting from this angle. So let's duplicate it by pressing Ctrl D, duplicate, and usually the fill light is the opposite of key light. It always comes from the opposite direction of the key light, the main light source, because the main light source always creates some shadows to the opposite part, to the invisible part to this light. So then this fill light comes to work. So now this is my fill light, and I'm going to decrease the intensity. Remember, always the fill light is always less intense than the key light. So I'm going to press 500. Let's say my key light has 1000 intensity and this is 500. Let's render it. Okay, still I need to make this light more intense. So again, you can use the exposure to adjust the brightness without increasing the intensity. It's very hard to say the difference between the intensity and exposure. So let's say if you press 2 here, it's double the effect of the intensity. So my intensity is still 1000, but the effect would be much more higher because I have 2 exposure level. So now you can see. So either you can go ahead and put a massive amount of intensity, or just put some exposure to brighten this image. Here you can see now it looks okay. So now I'm going to duplicate this light again, and let's create some rim light. So rim light or backlight always comes from the back side of the object to get a rim kind of lighting effect to the edge of the model. It helps to separate the object from the background. Okay, let's render. Let's see. Okay, so here you can see still we have very tight specular. The scroll looks very shiny. So let's select it and go to the material here, and let's decrease the specular roll off, and let's decrease the specular color a bit, and you can also decrease the reflectivity. So you can also drag and render that region only if you are rendering with this Maya render view. Okay, now you can see that less specular, and I think I need to change. I think everything looks okay. Yeah, let me render this texture so that we can see the texture. So let's render. Okay, you can press escape to stop the render right away. So now you can see it's looking a little bit dull. It's not looking bright. It's because on this material we have some settings called diffuse, and that is 0.8. So let's make that 1. So it makes it always, when you bring this down, it's always darken the texture. So let's make it full 1, and let's try check it. You can just render half, and let's see the difference. Now you can see immediately, you can see this is a little brighter than this area. So let me render this full area. Now you can see it's a little bit better than before. And again we can go ahead and decrease the specularity for this part as well. I think it's a little bit on the hard side, so let's decrease it. So when you want to decrease the specularity, you just go and turn or decrease the specular roll off. Again you can turn on this resolution gate to know the render area, so that you can frame the object exactly like you want. let's say like this, and let me do this something like this, so that in my thumbnail I would have the space to write something. And let's render it. Okay, this is looking okay, but still this total image is looking a little bit dark side, so I'm going to increase few light intensity. So let's increase this 500 to let's 700 maybe, or 1000 maybe, because we have the exposure in for this key light, so it's still going to look less bright. Okay, so that looks a little bit bright. And for the final render, make sure you increase the samples, because when you go to this by the way, if you want to see the back render, the previous render, you can just click on this little icon. You don't have to click it again. If you click on here, it's going to re-render it. Here you can see this image is noisy. It's because of these samples of these lights. So when you have just one sample, it's going to create very low resolution shadows, so that would give you a very noisy overall image, because of the shadow is very noisy. So make sure for the final render, this setting is okay for the test renders, but for the final image you need to increase the samples to somewhere maybe 10 or 20, and make sure you don't increase it too much in order to get a very smooth image. If you do that, it's going to take forever to render. It's never going to end. Means when you increase the samples, it increases the rendering time. So make sure you are kind of aware of that, and you are putting the number you need here. So let's usually 10-20 is okay. If it's a still render, means if it's not an animation sequence, if you are rendering just a single image to put into your workstation or something, it's okay. But if it's an animation sequence, then you need to put a more bigger number here. And another important things I just forgot to mention, and that is the image size. If you are rendering the final image, you might need a particular image size. Let's say you want a SD image which is 1920 by 1080. So you need to set that before you render it. You can set that inside this render settings button here. You can see I believe I have that setting, but I'm not sure. So let me escape this to close it, so that we can make sure. So let's go to this setting here, and let's go to this common tab, and here you can see you don't have that setting. It's just 960 with 540. We don't want that. So let's click on this presets, and I want here 1080 SD image, which is 1920 by 1080. So everything else is okay, just this image size with samples with proper lighting setup. So here I'm going to render it for the final image. Let's see. And obviously it's going to take more time because it's a bigger image size. So I'm pausing the video. I know it's going to take a while, maybe 10-15 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to come back when it's done. Okay, here you can see the render has been finished, and it took a little bit time. You can see the time. It took actually a lot of time because of that sample and because of this big image size. You can see it took almost 17 minutes. So okay, this is my render and I'm going to save this render. So let's right click and go to file and save image. And before you save, make sure this color managed image is turned on, not the raw image, because when you when it's set to raw image and you save it, it turns kind of black. If you turn off this setting, you get the render like this. This is the raw and this is the edited color managed render. So let's go to file, save image. Make sure this color managed image is on, which is now turned on. So let's apply and basically go to file, save image, and here I'm going to save it. Let's say mouse render, and okay, here is the final render image. You can maximize it. It's a full resolution image. So I know it's not looking that good, but for the purpose of this, covering these lectures, these concepts, I think it's okay. So I'm going to save this by pressing Ctrl S. So with this we have completed this lecture.
I hope this video helps you. If yes, please like, share and comment. That will help the video to reach more people like you. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Subscribe Nalinkantajena Tutorials channel and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video.